Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
This is Joey Klein. Welcome to Tech Talk. It's another Friday morning. I hope everyone is well out there. As we always do, we have three fantastic technology leaders in Atlanta to talk to today. First, we've got Jon Bradway, who's the Managing Director and Atlanta Lead for CapTech Consulting.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, John. Then up, we've got Chris Duncan, who's the Chief Operating Officer for Decisely.
Hey, good morning, Joey.
And Rupen Patel, who is the Chief Strategy Officer for Healthgrades.
Good morning.
Guys, thanks all for coming. Okay, so as we always do, we're going in alphabetical order, and John, we're going to start with you. So, CapTech Consulting, give us the elevator pitch.
Sure. So, CapTech's a national consulting firm. What we simply put, what we do is solve complex business problems. Generally, we use technology to do it, but sometimes we stray into management consulting. We started out as a technology development firm in 1997 and have a really deep technical talent bench that we pull from to do traditional technology development projects as well as data analytics, and we now have an in-house digital agency that helps us to design the things we build.
Huh. So, this is interesting. You've brought in-house the agency function. What was the impetus for that?
Well, we kept being asked to build technology, and sometimes it was design, and sometimes it wasn't. And as you know, if you start building something that you don't know what it's supposed to look like at the end, you're probably going to end up with some rework. So we brought it in-house to be able to solve that problem from end to end for our clients.
Okay. It was a robust enough function at the point where you're being asked to do this that it just did not make sense to outsource anymore. Well,
we didn't ever outsource it. We would partner with another agency. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to win a larger share of wallet. And also, sometimes when you design things without understanding how they're going to be built, you can run into some technical issues downstream. So by combining those two things into one team, we've found we've been able to offer better results to the client.
So you've been around for, if I'm doing the math, that is 22 years, but the Atlanta presence is generally pretty new.
Correct. We've been in Atlanta for three and a half years now. The way CapTech grows is we follow our clients. We don't actually have any salespeople at CapTech. We traditionally rely on relationships that are formed over a long period of time through our consulting activities. And we do a really good job, and that is our sales effort, is our clients, as they move to different places or talk to their friends, they pass us along. So we had a client that opened a large IT headquarters here in Atlanta, and we were able to win some work, and we've been able to parlay that into working for about 10 to 15 clients here in the Atlanta office. So,
okay, you're in a good position in that obviously client referrals are great, right? Growing organically like that is great. As a sales guy through and through, I'm always very interested in how people go out and acquire business. And so you've come on as the head in Atlanta. Do you find that there's an opportunity to really go out there and maybe get a little bit more active on the BD front as opposed to referral business?
Yeah, we have to here because we are new to the market, and time to market is probably our biggest challenge, that people just don't understand who we are and how we work. And we're a premium provider of technology consulting services. That's what we strive to be. So it takes a while to get clients to understand that. Also on the recruiting side, for technologists to understand who we are and seek us out. So it does take a little bit of legwork to be able to get that business and to hire top talent. But that's part of the job. And we do spend a fair amount of time going out and just introducing ourselves. Forums like this are great, so thanks for having us.
Of course.
And we typically come with ideas. There's common problems that face business today, so we have some unique perspectives on that. But we also spend time developing unique solutions for our clients and potential new clients.
I want to drill down into IT consulting because I think anyone listening to this has probably clearly heard of the term, right? But it's maybe hard to define exactly what that is because it is very specific for different businesses. So let's say that you're at a cocktail party, you're talking to someone new, and they've asked you that one-liner, what do you do? And it's clear that they're interested in a little bit more, so you can go into detail. What do you tell them?
So for CapTech, like you said, everyone views it a little bit differently. For CapTech, we define it as helping you solve your most strategic and complex technology issue. Companies are largely bringing in the IT and technology function into their businesses. But sometimes they have items that need additional support, or they don't have the bandwidth to solve for at the moment, but they are critical to their operation. And that's where we succeed, is to come in, solve that. We're 1,000 people, so we're not designed to stay there for forever like some other technology firms. They build and then maintain. It's our goal to build with the lens of transitioning internally to the client and have them take it over. So our approach from the beginning is to, well, first of all, a lot of IT shops have their own proprietary or pseudo-proprietary technologies or methodologies that they follow. We're 100% custom. We always look at what's best for the client or what the client prefers and start from there. So that leads us back to the transition internally. And so we're always coming in fresh and completely objective and non-biased.
Okay. So obviously not breaching any confidentiality, but could you share a couple of recent success stories?
Sure. So we don't talk about our clients. We do have strict on confidentiality with them. But the types of work that we've done recently here in Atlanta are using artificial intelligence and machine learning to identify fraudulent and erroneous healthcare claims. Is something we've. This is not in Orlando. It's in Orlando, but we are a mobile developer for a large theme park in that area. We have recently supported merger integration of a large financial services company here in Atlanta. Let's see, what else have we done? We're doing some work in the public sector, helping to launch a new software solution that migrate from an old to a new to help them transform. We're helping a golf brand to really step into the digital space. They've had a successful business selling clubs, but now they're looking to go to lessons and to some other areas. And so we're pretty broad based in terms of the clients that we serve, but cover a lot of different ground within them.
So how do you I think you touched on something interesting, because you mentioned that clearly, you named about 5 different industries and 5 different types of technology issues. Okay. So as the lead for the Atlanta office, how are you going about finding talent that is able to be adept at, not just different industries, but of course different technological issues?
Sure. So I spend a lot of my time interviewing people, and I just saw this the other day. We have about a 2% higher rate out of our interviews, not applicants, interviews. So that's 1 in 50,
wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we're really selective about who we hire and looking for that exactly. We get a lot of people that come in that are really great technically, but they don't have the ability to be a consultant first, right? So we're looking for people that enjoy and thrive on solving a problem, not just wanting to work with particular technology over and over again. So they get to do that, but what we want them to look at first is, okay, there's a unique problem here and it has implications to our client. So how do we solve it in the right way using this technology set? And then that gives them the ability to look at lots of different perspectives to help them grow in their career. And our goal at CapTech, our mission from day one, has been to be the best consulting firm to work for and with. And we rank in the top 5 of both of those categories consistently for the last 10 years. So our values and how we run the firm are very much aligned to being people first, to get them the exposure that they need, and how we work with our clients to kind of keep everyone in mutual alignment.
Do you think, look, that 2% rate is stunning, frankly. And obviously you're picky, as you should be. But I feel that, and you find it amongst business leaders, you find it in the real estate industry as well, that we all tout the amazing amount of talent that is being born and bred here in Atlanta. And I don't think it's just window dressing. I believe it's true. I think that this city is firing on all cylinders on a number of different fronts. But as someone who is literally engaged in this process every single day, you're searching for people with the technical skills, but also the soft skills, the emotional intelligence to be able to interact well with a client and nurture that relationship. Do you think that Atlanta is doing a good job with talent?
We do. So we have a fairly robust college recruiting program, and Georgia Tech has put some of the top people across our company. They've put some of the top people into that program over the last couple of years. So we're really pleased by Tech. We're now beginning to recruit in the Atlanta Union colleges. We've done. We did a hackathon actually recently with a client where we merged both Georgia Tech and some of the folks from Spelman to come together and work together on teams, and it was fascinating to see, how they mix together from a technical and non-technical background to form a really strong team. And that's very similar to what we do at CapTech every day. We want that diverse set of perspectives and backgrounds that can form teams that are just unique and compelling. It shows to the client.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. I am going to push you a little bit more in Atlanta later on, but before we get there, so you and I know each other from a little bit of a past life. So when I was an MBA student at Emory, you were my mentor. You went through the program as well, and you were heavily involved in entrepreneurial ventures before coming to CapTech. And so I'm curious what you have taken from, kind of your own ventures to you're not at a massive global Fortune 500, but you're certainly at a much larger, more institutional company than, the couple that you started before this. So how have you sort of taken that entrepreneurial spirit and applied it to CapTech?
So I think two ways on that. The first was why I went to CapTech, because I am entrepreneurial and CapTech is as well. And I was looking for a, medium-sized firm that could have the scale to execute upon things, but then also the flexibility to be able to try different things. And since I've been there, we've been able to try different innovation activities, both internally to help our teams grow, but then also with our clients and, pushing upstream in the value chain to compete more in the visioning and imagining work for our clients to help them understand what's possible. That's been a lot of fun. And I think the value to the client in that, given my previous startup experience, is you're always looking for product market fit and you're trying to find it quickly. I think some clients that are larger are somewhat constrained by all of their existing processes and infrastructure and, all the things that are important to a large business to scale. But sometimes you got to learn how to cut through that and cut through it quickly to identify what the opportunities are. And you may be wrong as you are in a startup. It's a continual chase, but helping them to just look through a lens of an entrepreneur of, how you would take it to a VC. How would you raise money, and taking some of those perspectives to our clients just to help them think through it as they evaluate opportunity.
What, one of the things that I find is important in, retaining really good talent is, look, whether they actually have a stake in the business or not, making them feel like they do have a stake in the business, making them think a little bit more entrepreneurially and outside of the box. How do you find that you can get people who are, W-2 employees to really take ownership over the growth of CapTech and take ownership over themselves and not just have it be somewhere where they report to work every day?
Sure. So we talk a lot about market development. We did a big goals kickoff in January this year where everyone has 3, sometimes 4 goals. But one of those goals for every Atlanta consultant is to talk about how they can support the growth of our office. For some people, that may be helping with recruiting. For some, that may be participating in an internal innovation challenge. For some, it might be to stretch themselves into a new role. But all of those things in aggregate help us to, every day move forward in the maturity and the culture of our office. So we spent time doing that. And I mentioned there innovation challenges. That is a big one for us. We do 2 to 3 of those a year where we identify a topic. It's been augmented reality, machine learning. Currently, we're doing how to use technology to help those with disabilities. And teams self-form and come up with their own ideas. And we're a consulting company, so we take that content and those proof of concepts out to our clients. And so it allows our team to experiment with new tools and just scratch that creative entrepreneurial itch, but also generates ideas and opportunities for our customer base, which has actually worked real well. There's couple different things we've done that have turned into real opportunities for our client. That's
great. So, someone listening to this, name a couple. I mean, look, I know that you guys do all the work under the sun, okay? But if someone's listening to this and they think that they might be, might make sense for them to talk to CapTech, what sort of issues should they have for there to be a good fit between your two firms?
Sure. So development velocity is a big one for us recently, and we solve that both from a technologist point of view, but also a more management consulting point of view. So how do you align everything in your organization from traditional agile kind of thought process into DevOps and to maximize your velocity and the output of your teams to grow your business? So we're spending a lot of time there in the transformation space. we spend a lot of time with people trying to determine how they want to use digital or various technologies for the growth of their business. We also look at it from the perspective of how do you save costs? How do the AI for fraudulent healthcare claims is a great example. We've been able to save $80 million or help the client save $80 million through that tool. So just someone that is trying to they have a business problem and they're not quite sure how to solve it from a technology point of view. We do a really good job of coming in to discuss how we can use technology to solve their problem.
I don't want to go too far down this tangent, but you've mentioned AI twice, and I feel like, me just personally, I want to ask about it. So I think there has been a lot of talk of late about the development of AI and what it means for our future. And there are some people that go to sort of a dystopian nightmare of, when they're artificial, superintelligence that will wipe out the human species. And there's others that say that is just not anywhere close to happening. And, we can harness AI in a narrow sense to perform tasks that we needed. As someone who is seeing what AI is capable of, with projects that you're working on, what do you see as its benefits and potential drawbacks?
Well, the drawback is that everyone, it's the tip of the spear buzzword right now. So everybody's rushing towards it, and there's all sorts of different definitions of what it actually means. But the drawback we've seen in people actually being able to apply it is their data is disaggregated all over the place. The data engineering and the governance isn't in place to be able to actually apply it effectively and be able to trust it in whatever the business outcome you're seeking is. So, it's easy to come up with the idea. It's hard to actually execute upon it in a way that is meaningful without doing a lot of legwork up front. So we spend a lot of time right now helping our clients prepare for that eventuality, with data governance and, all sorts of other activities to get them ready.
Okay. So the robots aren't coming for us anytime soon?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Good to know. You have been in Atlanta for almost 2 decades now. And so you have...
You sound old.
It is what it is. Just own it. And so, you have seen this city through, I think, a number of different iterations. And I'm curious look, we talked about what we're doing great, okay, from a talent perspective. Where do you think we still need some work?
So it's interesting. When I moved to Atlanta, and I guess I interned here in 99, I moved here in 2000, and I thought the traffic back then was great, right? It was easy. I remember saying to my friends, it was easy to get around, and it was for a while. And today, that is not true. So I think regional transportation and the ability to connect our, from Alpharetta to Midtown and downtown, it is not an easy place to get our consultants or to do general commerce. So investing in that transportation system is going to take our metro area to the next level.
Yeah, I have consistently said that I think that is the one Achilles heel of this region, that if we plateau, that's going to be why. And there's a huge opportunity there, but you also it is easy to be a pessimist on it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some of the community activities that you engage in. So one thing I want to touch on is I read on your website that you have a pro bono program.
Sure. So we don't have anything official.
Okay.
But we are very involved in our communities. Our business model is to work where we live. So most of our consultants aren't hopping on a jet every week and flying out Monday to Thursday. We're trying to staff them locally. Some people prefer to travel, and we support that as well. But because we do work where we live, it's important for us to be part of our community. And part of being a great place to work is engaging out in your community. So we've done a couple of things over the years. We're heavily involved in the food bank across our company. But here in Atlanta, we are involved in the Covenant House, which is a program for homeless youth. We've done an app for the Shepherd Center, helping. They kept seeing spinal injuries in children or teens learning how to drive. So we built an app to help parents teach their kids to drive, and using telemetry data to understand, hey, maybe you're taking that left turn a little bit too aggressively there, and help them to track hours in the car before they graduate to new levels of capability. So that's been an interesting one that we're able to talk about, which is nice. And it's out in the app stores if you want to go check it out for your own purposes. And then finally, the Atlanta Moon Ride is actually presented by CapTech. It was supposed to be this evening, but due to the forecasted rain, we've moved that to 2 weeks from now, June the 21st, and that benefits Bird's Big Adventure. And it's been just a really unique way for us to bring together both our employees and our clients into a really fun nighttime bike ride through the city.
Can you, I feel like I know pretty much everything about Atlanta. Even I didn't really understand what the Moon Ride was. So can you detail it for us?
Sure. So it's in Piedmont Park. Starts in Piedmont Park. Starts and finishes in Piedmont Park. It's about 7 o'clock. We kick off a big party in the field there near Park Tavern at the corner of 10th and Monroe. There's a band. Tito's Vodka is also a sponsor, so it's a pretty fun time. And around 11 o'clock, the band shuts down, and we all line up on 10th Street and go out for a ride through the Highlands, down into MM Park, little 5 Points, back into downtown, and then through Midtown and back to the park. So everyone gets a lot of neon on. They decorate their bikes. This year, actually, we built an app so that everyone could stream music together. We're handing out armbands so no one's wrecking their bikes while they're trying to do it. And it's a really cool experience. Last year, about 10,000 people were involved, and I think about 6,000 actually did the ride. So it's a really fun, just unique experience for the in-town community.
I'm such a big fan of, you got that, you have the Lantern Parade, you have Streets Alive. Yeah. It's I think Atlanta's really embracing those sort of urban community activities. It's great.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. Jon, if someone wants to get in touch with you and learn more about CapTech, how are they going to do that?
So you can reach out to me through our website. You can find me there, or you can also find me at jbradway@captechconsulting.com.
Great. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Next, we've got Chris Duncan from Decisely. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, good morning, Joy. Doing great.
Good. So, headline, elevator pitch on Decisely.
Yeah, so Decisely is one of the leading insurtech firms in the United States, and we basically target small business solutions, a recruit to retire technology and benefit solution. And the unique thing about us is it's all our own technology, and we also have a very unique distribution channel. And our distribution channel is we also solve for traditional insurance brokers' challenges in terms of servicing small business. And that's led us into some really interesting business lines where now we've gone really long into program business. So the big thing in our industry right now is association health plans. And so we aggregate small businesses into collective purchasing pools and really change some lives and change businesses across the U.S.
Okay, so why do insurance brokers have an issue servicing small business?
Yeah, great question. So I ran one of the largest insurance brokerage firms in the United States, and so most insurance brokers do really well with mid to large businesses because you got lots of employees. You can deploy all the sorts of economies of scale that you can get at a large business. So if you're Delta Airlines, you got lots of employees, and you can get your best deal on insurance. However, if you're a small business, you're getting kind of the worst of the worst. So you're getting the highest cost, poorest coverage, and you're a small business owner trying to run a small business. You don't know anything about insurance. So, but brokers themselves really don't, quite frankly, make a lot of money on small business. So that 10-employee group or that 15-employee group just is kind of never land. And so for us, we kind of declared that as our mission field, that we were going to solve that for small business. And so we started the company really to address that. And we started it as part of an outgrowth of what we saw in my own big brokerage business, where we were really struggling with delivering small business solutions.
Okay, so this is interesting. It was Decisely is sort of an unintended consequence of, and that's not a bad thing. That's just what it is, right? It's you were at a different business, you saw a problem, and thus went on to create Decisely.
Yeah. So I think one of the great things about being in business is you see what the environment gives you. And we saw in Silicon Valley, some very well-funded insurtech firms that were really trying to tackle the small business community and, frankly, disintermediate the insurance brokerage community and the insurance carriers, frankly. And we saw that as a threat to our own business, but we also saw it as an opportunity. And so the CEO of Epic and I got together. We developed a business plan and said, well, gee, I think we can do this on our own and go take on the Silicon Valley guys. And that's exactly what we did. But we came at it from 1 foot in old school because we understood what it meant to be an insurance broker in small business and all the challenges associated with that. But then we also said we've got to change the game in small business, and that's where the technology side came in. So when you combine those two in a distribution strategy that really was focused on insurance brokers themselves and helping them help their small businesses, that was a game changer for us. So, yeah, we incubated the company internally. I was the very first client, so they had to make me happy before we could take the show on the road. And once we figured out that we had something really great, clients were really responding to it, and we spun the company out into the independent company that is today.
Okay. And so you are referring to your time at Epic.
Yes.
And then on to Decisely.
Yeah.
Tell us a little, for those who aren't familiar, tell us a little bit about Epic.
Yeah, Epic is I think they're like a top 10 or 12 insurance broker in the United States at this point. They're headquartered out of California. I commuted back and forth, from Atlanta to San Francisco for about 3 years. And they do property, casualty, employee benefits. They're a traditional, super regional to national insurance broker.
Okay. So you're a small business. Let's say you have 10 employees. Mm-hmm. Okay. Either no insurance broker is wasting their time with you because they're not going to make a good fee, or if they are, they're probably not the best at what they do because they're having to spend time on the small fish.
It may not be that they're not the best at what they do. It's just in terms of a return on their investment.
Yeah.
You're going to make. Here's the way I think of it. You're going to make the same. You're going to make the same people investment and time investment in a 10-employee company as you will in a 100-employee company, and you're going to make 1/10 of the revenue.
Yep.
So it's just natural. You're going to focus your business where you can deploy your operating model most effectively. That's why we focus on changing the operating model. So with the technology and the integrations that we do, we've been able to change that and provide the same sort of service, as well as through aggregated purchasing. And this is the big play, able to change the game both economically and also from a service standpoint for small business. And for us, small business, there's about 6 million small businesses in the United States, employing about 40 million people out of the 150 million people employed in the United States. They get the worst of the worst. And so if you can solve a big problem in a big segment of the population, you probably got a pretty big business. And so that's really why we're doing some of the heavy lifting that others have tried and quite frankly still struggle with.
Okay, so I am the CEO of a 10-person company. Mm-hmm. I'm listening to this and I'm identifying with these problems. I guess there's two questions. How does Decisely help me get good insurance? Mm-hmm. And I think the second is, how did that happen? Like, how are you able to enable that better quality insurance? Yeah,
so I'll give you kind of two different angles of where the value is created for that 10-employee CEO. The first one is that 10-employee CEO does not have time to manage the medical insurance plus payroll plus how do I recruit, how do I handle my onboarding documents, my employee handbook, et cetera. We do all that in an integrated manner with a single technology platform that we developed. So we're saving them time and money so they can focus in on growing their business. So there's value, even if the insurance doesn't change, there's value in how we deliver it to the small business. And that's probably the mega trend that's going on in small businesses, the traditional insurance broker model of the broker going out and playing golf and then selling you some medical insurance. That's going away, at least for small businesses. The second one is the larger play. In the medical insurance world, small businesses are treated by the insurance regulators in a specific way. If you're less than 50 employees, there are certain ways that insurance is sold, and that's regulated. If you can change how that insurance is essentially priced and sold, and this is where things like association health plans come in. Association health plan is an aggregation. It's a strategic sourcing strategy for small business. So if it's the same trade or business, I'll give you an example. Napa Auto Parts is one of our largest clients. Mm-hmm. A great company. The Napa program is an aggregation of healthcare purchasing for the independently owned Napa owners across the United States. That came to us from an insurance broker that does property casualty insurance for those same Napa stores. So they came to us and said, can you use your technology and your website and your marketing and everything you bring to the table and deploy this, nationally for Napa? And the answer was, yes, we sure can. And so that's changed the game. So those Napa owners on average are saving about 23%, which is over $1,100 per employee. If you're a small business, that's big money.
Yeah.
The cool thing was with Napa is, and we've seen this with our other clients, is the small business owners are also reinvesting those savings and adding new benefits for their employees that they never had before. So we feel like we're changing people's lives. So the big the 2-4 win here is both the technology and how we deliver that insurance. And then when we're able to aggregate this in a collective sourcing strategy, we're really changing the fundamental economics of what it means to be a small business and sourcing insurance.
So could a small business go on Decisely's website and essentially, let's say they didn't want to go through the traditional brokerage process, okay? They can go on your website and essentially work with your technology directly to find a solution for them.
Yeah, yes, they can.
Okay.
However, the way we've designed the company, and we have a lot of clients, we call that going direct. We have a lot of direct clients. However, what we really specialize in is working with other insurance brokers because they already have the business relationship with those small businesses, right? So everybody's got some advisor that they're listening to. And they're all really smart people and they're doing good work. The problem is they're just not good at small business. Their model doesn't work for small business. And so as opposed to having 30 different salespeople, talking with 500 individual small businesses, our business model is we partner with the regional and the national insurance brokers to solve for their small business clients. So we're giving them essentially a force extension into small business in a way that they can't deliver for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, they're basically your channel.
Exactly. So they're my channel and they're my partners.
Yeah.
And so I'm also pretty careful about not competing with my channel partners. And what that's led to is, as we've solved for these small business challenges with traditional other brokers, broker partners, is they've said, well, wow, we've got this association or this franchise client corporately. Can you help us with all the individual franchisees or all the association members? And so we say, yeah, we sure can. And so that's where we really, over the past couple of years, our business model is actually, we continue to work with individual small businesses. That's still the core of who we are. But that's morphed into this aggregation strategy for associations and franchises with our broker partners. So for us, it's a big game changer from a distribution standpoint.
So your sales process is really focusing more on partnerships and channel sales as opposed to, I guess like direct enterprise sales isn't really a thing, at least in your business right now.
Well, it is for some of our competitive set.
Okay.
And I wish them luck. But kind of the early stage of InsurTech was B2B marketing, using traditional SEO marketing, et cetera, and their business acquisition costs to try to get that 10 employee group through SEO marketing and buying Google AdWords, et cetera. They were paying 3 and 4 times revenue for SEO marketing to generate that. Our business acquisition cost is a fraction of 1 times. So it's a very different business strategy for us, and we feel like we like the channels that we got. We like our channel partners, and also our heritage, right? Our DNA is we started as a traditional insurance broker. We understand what that means. So if we can bring technology to essentially an old school industry inside of a distribution channel where they already have business relationships, we feel like that we've got something special.
Well, so you gave me a really nice leeway and segue into my next question about disrupting an old school industry. Okay, and I think insurance is one of those industries that is ripe for disruption. Frankly, I feel the same way for my own industry, real estate. It is ripe for disruption, and you see that happening. And so, but it's a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift for those that are on the front line. So clearly there's a lot of opportunity, but there are some roadblocks as well. So where do you see this in, let's call it 5 years, or at least where do you want it to be?
Well, I think it's already here. So you're already seeing the disruption and the disintermediation of kind of the traditional channels in kind of think of it as fungible goods, right? So homeowner auto insurance, life insurance, even a business owner's policy for the local dry cleaner. It's not that different carrier to carrier. And so that's ripe for disruption because it's a relatively standardized product. And so the internet can disrupt that very easily. So e-commerce is already here. And so there's some really great companies here in Atlanta, like Layer and others that are already disrupting the business insurance marketplace. However, the benefits in the insurance world is still horribly complex, right? And if you're that small business owner, go back to that 10-employee CEO, he doesn't have time to learn what it means to have, cyber insurance, which is complex, or even employee benefits, which is a very personal and very expensive proposition. So they want to talk to a trusted advisor. So those spaces of complexity, it's just like extremely large commercial real estate deals, probably going to have someone like you advising them and working through those details. Maybe on the smaller end of the commercial marketplace, it might be a little different from a commercial real estate standpoint. Same thing as in the insurance business. As long as you need that trusted advisor that's a translation utility for really complex business problems, that space is relatively safe. But where you don't, and it's a compliance issue, and it's just got to check the box at the lowest cost, that's already being disrupted.
I think that this goes for so many different industries. The bare minimum of what your job entails, I think, just gets higher and higher every year. The bare minimum of, essentially, if you are an order taker, if you are not adding, strategic thought and value, then, look for something else.
Well, a great point. And that's where, again, back to the kind of the two places that I think we have at least some secret sauce is the integration, the technology is. There are others that are somewhat like us, but they're very, very few that are in this recruit to retire technology paradigm. And there's even less that are in this aggregation of small business. I mean, you combine those two things together, I think we've got a sweet spot that's certainly paying out. I think we're adding a lot of value at this point.
Recruit to retire. I like that. Is that a Decisely term?
That is a Decisely term.
I love that. And so essentially what that means is that you are working everything from the initial stage of an employee to when they exit the company.
Yeah. If you think of it again, let's go back to that hypothetical CEO. They don't have the time to go figure out which job posting site to use. So we provide them applicant tracking software so they can go find your next employee. And when they like that next employee, they'll press a button, it goes into onboarding. So they don't have to manage all the paperwork and the filings and the W-2s and the I-9s and the E-Verifies. We do all that for them. And then we provide them employee benefits if they choose to have it. If they want to add in retirement, IRAs and 401ks, we provide that as well. So literally from the employee standpoint and the employer standpoint, it's intended to help that small business run essentially their HR function. 90% of an HR function we can do. Yeah. And we don't charge them for it. It's all it's part of the technology package that we provide.
So if you don't charge them for it, how do you make money?
Yeah, so we get paid commissions on our insurance products just like anyone else. There are a couple of the services that are optional, like the recruiting. We talked about that. So there is a monthly fee for recruiting, $30 or $40 or $50 a month for unlimited job postings. So we do have a software as service model, but the core of what we do, probably 80% of our clients aren't charged any fees whatsoever. If they want to add in a 401k, then there's going to be some 401k advisory fees and some processing fees that they'll have to pay for.
Okay. I guess it's not so recent at this point, but maybe, 18 months or so ago, you guys raised a decent chunk of change.
Yeah, it was about 24 months ago. Sure did.
And it was $60 million, is that right?
Yeah, we had commitments of $60 million. Okay. Was the first tranche.
So that's a big number, especially for an Atlanta company where I think the city has gotten better on fundraising, but still eight figures is a good sum for an Atlanta-based company. How are you using those funds?
Well, first, we're not using all of those funds. So our business is actually doing really well. So that's the great thing about having some really supported private equity. So our owners are Sightway Capital, which is a Two Sigma company out of New York. And so they really like the insurance space. So they've got investments on the property casualty side. And then I like to joke that we're the B side of the record. We're the benefit side of their insurance technology record. And for them, it was an interesting investment because we had already done the proof of concept on our own dime inside of Epic. So we were a pretty safe investment for them. Where we're putting those funds is we've developed probably 95% of the technology is ours. We've got a few partners that we private labeled, but very few. So we've done a lot of technology development. We think that's part of our secret sauce. And then the rest of it, frankly, is operations and execution. Pretty simple business at the end of the day. So this is where as the chief operating officer, I've got operations and sales. It's all about the execution. So it's people and it's technology in support of our distribution channels.
Let's continue on the B theme. Mm-hmm. You are a B Corp.
Oh, Yeah.
I mean, you opened the door for me on that one.
I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, Joey. Thank you.
It's okay. We're just telepathic like that.
There we go. We're connected.
So what exactly is a B Corp for those who don't know?
Yeah, so the B Corp phenomenon really started in California, and it's spread globally at this point. There's about 5,000 B Corps across the world at this point, and it's a certification process. A B Corp, at its fundamentals, is a for-profit company with a social mission of doing good. So the whole question of social entrepreneurship, all of these things kind of wrapped around it. Every company is trying to do the right thing in their community with their employees. This is actually a certification program. It's kind of like a SOC 2 audit. By the way, it's painful. It takes a lot of time and resources to jump through those hoops, but it's essentially how do we treat our employees? How do we treat our clients? How do we basically become a good member in the community? And how do we give back to society? And so those are the four sort of big criteria, and we've gone through, I think we've been recertified twice at this point. Every 2 years you have to go through a recertification process. So B Corp, for-profit company with a social mission of doing good, and our social mission field is small business. So how we run our business, what we do, is part of how we give back and fulfill our B mission.
Yeah, you practice what you preach.
Well, it's, if you can merge your business where you're going to make money with where your passion is all at the same time, that's a pretty good place to be.
It definitely is. It definitely is. I feel like I often like to think of people's professions and what they do every day and how it comes off to a stranger at a cocktail party, right? And someone who's talking to you initially might think, oh, they're insurance? Oh, that sounds kind of boring, right? And of course, it's anything but when you get a little bit further into it.
Well, it's just even worse than that. In my prior life, I was the risk manager of Delta Airlines, and I also had internal audit, information security, privacy. So I was the most boring person at every party. Not just insurance, but an auditor and, essentially a compliance geek. So, no one really talks with me at parties at this point, Joey. All I have to do is say insurance, and they kind of run away.
I'm sorry to bring up that painful topic for you then. Did I also read that you guys have sponsored or created a benefits degree program?
Yeah, that's actually another good example where kind of personal passion and corporate alignment come together. So I'm a very proud graduate of the University of Georgia in the risk management program there, and it's made a huge difference in my career. And about 7 or 8 years ago, I moved over to the B side, the benefits side of the world. And as I looked around, there's about 45 risk management programs, great programs across the U.S., and that accounts for 7% of gross domestic product, property casualty industry. Wow. Okay. However, benefits, including Medicaid and Medicare, is 18, almost 19% of gross domestic product at this point, and there are zero degreed programs in the United States for employee benefits. And so I thought this is a great opportunity to change that. I'm in the benefits business, so let's go do something cool. And it just so happened, by luck, I had a great friend of mine that's a tenured professor at Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina, and they have a top 5 risk management program. And so I maneuvered my way onto the advisory board. And after a year of maneuvering and talking about what we might be able to do to get kids jobs in the benefits industry, we were able to create a benefits minor. So it's the first ever in the United States. And then as part of that, we were all creating Decisely at the same time, and so Decisely got on board. So I'm personally involved, but Decisely is also on board, and so we do some financial support for the program. We have internships, and we've hired kids out of App State and elsewhere. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, my view is when you've been in the industry as long as I have, and I love the insurance industry, you got to give back somehow. And so I am involved with the Insurance Industry Charitable Foundation, which is one of the largest foundations for insurance doing good with the insurance industry in the world, and then App State. So, and then this benefits minor. So I'm pretty proud of what we've done. We've got, I think, 22 kids in the program, and it just started 2 years ago. Continued theme of doing good while making good money in a business. That's great. Yeah.
If someone wants to learn more about you, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, a simple way is to go to Decisely.com. It's a great website, or you can contact me at Chris, C-H-R-I-S, at Decisely.com.
And how do we spell Decisely?
Oh, wow. Decisely. Okay. Decisely.com.
Great. Yeah. All right, Chris, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay, moving on. So you touched on about 18% of GDP, which I believe Rupen Healthcare is about 17 or 18% of GDP at this point?
Yeah, at least. There's figures out there that say it's approaching a quarter of the economy in the U.S. today. So depending on who you believe and how you double count things.
Okay, we can get into that a little bit later. Okay, so we've got Rupen Patel, who is the Chief Strategy Officer of Healthgrades. Rupen, you are fairly new to the Chief Strategy Officer role.
Yes, in fact, I am. So I just joined Healthgrades in January via an acquisition. Prior to Healthgrades, I was the CEO of Influence Health, and we just completed the transaction in January, and I joined Healthgrades as the Chief Strategy Officer.
So I love the story of M&A activity, which sounds like a really boring, geeky business thing to say, but I do think is very interesting. It's like, you're talking about the marriage of two companies, two families, whatever it might be, and how you mesh them together, and it can sometimes be messy, but ultimately you're trying to create this bigger, better whole. So I would love to learn more about how this marriage came together, and then tell us a little bit about what this combined organization is now up to.
Yeah, before I go into that, your analogy about a marriage is actually pretty accurate. I mean, in this case, when you're merging companies, you actually have to have a really solid prenup as well. So there's a lot more paperwork in this type of a marriage, but it is a lot about the people and making sure that there's a cultural and mission fit. Before you kind of, step forward into these acquisitions. Because, as you know, there's a lot of details that come about. And if you want to get those resolved in a good way, you need to have some core alignment on values and what your companies are about. And so I can start there. The core value, the core mission of both companies, Influence Health and Healthgrades, was always to help consumers, all of us, find the best provider at the right time and the right place for whatever is ailing them. So essentially helping consumers to experience better healthcare. And that's a shared sort of core mission. Our business models were very comparable. So we had a substantial business at Influence Health selling into health systems to help them reach consumers. And at Healthgrades, we also have a substantial business, much larger business, selling into health systems to help reach consumers as well. And there's additional assets that both companies had beyond that sort of overlap area. So at Influence, we had an additional business for health systems to build their own content management system-based websites, making sure all the information about their physicians online was accurate. And at Healthgrades, a lot of people know Healthgrades as a consumer healthcare search portal, as well as a place to leave reviews and to get more details about physicians. And so if you look at it holistically, the two companies together now have multiple touch points with a consumer, and we can provide a much more holistic experience no matter where a consumer enters into the sort of the digital sphere of healthcare. And our customers, who are large health systems as well as pharma, appreciated the combination. That was the other aspect of this. They also felt now they didn't have to deal with multiple vendors providing parts of the solution, but they could deal with a single vendor that had a single view of the consumer. The most important part of this is having a 360 profile of the consumer so you can provide the right information.
So this marriage sounds like is strategic for a number of different reasons. One is you have two organizations that were competitors in some fields, but not all, and provide complementary services that, when offered as a whole, is just that much more valuable to a client.
That's right. Absolutely. And subsequent to the acquisition, we had a large conference where we brought in 400 plus attendees, all the different health systems we work with. And I got so much good feedback that the customers are coming up to myself and Rob, who's the CEO, saying, we're so glad you guys did this. This is great. Now we can have a consistent experience, working with a single account manager and having all of these things under one roof. So it's been a tremendously good outcome. Frankly, for the customers and ultimately for the consumers, which is really the core of the mission of the company. That's
great. Very validating. Very quickly, right? It hasn't been very long.
Yes. It's only been like 5 or 6 months, and we feel like we've known each other forever.
That's great. You just feel like you know everything about each other.
That's right.
Okay, so you've gone from Chief Executive Officer to Chief Strategy Officer. How has that changed where you spend your time and what your day-to-day looks like?
So definitely a shift in responsibility and focus, right? As the CEO, you're responsible for basically everything. With a chief strategy officer role, I have much more of a focus on things that move the needle in big ways for the company. These are things like, corp dev activities, things like strategic partnerships, things that we're doing internally that maybe aren't getting the top billing they should in the company and externally. And so can we bring them up, create a formalized strategy and a go-to-market approach that will kind of bring them up at the top of the agenda and get them to market, as well as some things I was doing at Influence Health that we're continuing to do at Healthgrades and actually scaling out. One of those is the customer data platform that we announced earlier this year. And that's really a commitment by the company that everything we do will be in a common customer data platform, which we can then provide to our customers, which are the health systems and pharma, to have that 360 view of the consumer. And the rationale here is that a lot of what happens in healthcare happens outside of the four walls of the provider's office, right? So the decisions we make, the habits we have, the appointments we miss, the complications that happen to us because we didn't follow the instructions, all of these things are caused and sort of instigated outside of the four walls of the provider. With a platform that can actually track the right attributes and the right piece of information outside of the four walls, we can actually start to influence the consumers to take better actions to help them get better, faster, longer, et cetera.
Okay, so let's go into a little bit more detail on that, because I think to maybe the untrained ear, it sounds like sort of Big Brother monitoring of people outside their appointments. So how are you tracking people outside of their appointments, getting information on them to then help preventative care and their doctors? Yeah,
it's a good point. So first of all, everything's through consent, right? With healthcare, everything is under HIPAA. We're high trust certified as well. So the customer, the consumer, is given consent for anything that we do with them once they become a patient. Second of all this information is usually owned by the provider. And just remember, we work with large health systems and hospitals. Today, the information exists. It's just fragmented. So it's sitting in multiple systems. When you call into the call center, some of the information about you sitting there. When you go into the appointment, some of the information sitting in the EMR. Some of the information may be sitting inside of a pop health system where a long-term condition might be managed. And then there's third-party information about your socioeconomics, demographics, location that's vital, because if, for instance, you can't get a ride to the appointment, you're likely to not show up, which is going to be worse for you later. Well, what if we know that and we can suggest to you, hey, there's a partnership we've done with a ride-sharing service at this hospital. We can get you into the hospital free, right? The ride-sharing service will cover the contracts with the ride-sharing service will cover the cost. Little things like that can sort of help to reduce the friction and ultimately improve the outcome.
Well, and you and I talked about this when we got coffee, just how jarring it is that you can really interpret so much about someone's health and future outcomes by their zip code.
Yes.
The same way that you can do that to a disturbing degree, frankly, with a child and where they're born and what their lot in life is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole theme inside of healthcare right now around social determinants of health. And the tagline is your zip code's more important than your genetic code. And the reason for this is multiple, right? Economics, sometimes it's the access issue. There may not be anything near you, convenient. Food is a big issue. We have some health systems that have actually started buying grocery stores and offering prescriptions for food, healthy food, for free to their community locally.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because it's a huge driver of outcome.
Yeah.
And the quality of life you're going to have ultimately.
Oh, well, when chips are cheaper than apples.
That's right.
Which one are you going to buy?
That's right.
Yeah.
And as long as the incentives are right, and as long as the business models get adjusted to account for having more value to keeping people healthier longer, I think we're going to continue to see this trend.
That is fascinating. How is that an isolated occurrence right now with health systems buying grocery stores, or is this something that's really spreading? Because I had not heard of that before.
Yeah, it's starting to happen in the areas where the health system sort of has a dominant position, or where the health system has a lot of contracts that are value-based, where they're getting compensated long-term for keeping people healthier. It's in their best interest to do that. And it's also happening in situations where you have integrated payer and provider. So if you look at an organization like Kaiser, where they're both the provider of the healthcare and they're also the insurer, it's again in their best interest to keep people healthier longer. And so they're going to invest in these sorts of things.
Yeah. But tell me about your personal journey into the healthcare industry.
Yes, I've been in healthcare for a little over 2 years, about 2.5 years now. Prior to this, I was in fintech. Again, a big name, NCR here in Atlanta. I was the CTO for one of the small business divisions. I was recruited into Influence Health originally, and the reason I got interested was that I thought healthcare had a lot of problems that needed to be solved, and that the timing was right now. And inherently, when you're in healthcare, it's a mission-based field, right? You just can't help but be mission-based when you're in healthcare, because you're actually trying to, at some level, help people get healthier or get the right care. So for those reasons, I sort of entered healthcare, and I've learned quite a bit. I've learned that we've still got a long way to go. There's still a lot of business sort of incentive alignments that need to happen in the industry as a whole. It's a very complicated industry, much more so than you could get into, in a 30-second soundbite on the news. There's a lot of sophistication in healthcare that's not obvious to the average person, and you can't just undo all of the things that have been done very easily in order to change it. I also think that one of the really exciting things that's happening in healthcare is that the different business models are starting to be sort of unbundled. Before, you had this notion that you go, let's take the provider space, the large providers, health systems. You go to the health system for everything you need, whether it's a cold, whether you hurt your arm, injured your knee, whatever it is, you go in for that. Over time, we're seeing this unbundling, where those things that would fall in this realm of precision medicine, things that we know we can solve quickly and economically, are being sort of unbundled out of these larger health systems and being offered locally, right? You could go to your CVS, go to your Minute clinics, get a lot of these sort of precision medicine items taken care of. You've got specialized imaging centers that you go to, and they can do X-rays and MRIs much more efficiently at a lower cost than sort of in a large health system. So I think we'll continue to see this unbundling. We're seeing it as consumers with television, unbundling cable, being able to buy channels individually. And we'll see this trend continue to happen. And that allows new businesses to pop up that can be super efficient at providing those certain kinds of precision medicine services. There's still this whole realm of what's called intuitive medicine, where you really don't know what the problems are. It's really complicated, and you almost need like a consulting type of model. And I think that's still going to be the stronghold of larger organizations for a while.
Does the unbundling play into a business opportunity for Healthgrades?
In a way, it does, right? So unbundling starts to sort of have another side effect, which is further fragmentation of the data around a consumer, right? So now if I'm going to 5 different organizations to get care, there's nobody who understands the whole 360 view of the care I've gotten and all of the different things I need to do to make sure that my entire health journey is sort of consistent. The experiences are going to be different at each place I go. I'm going to have to redundantly offer the same, what are you allergic to? What's your insurance? You know that. You filled out the forms 10,000 times, and then they sort of just forget about them, right? They ask you again when you go to the next provider. So I think there's an opportunity for us as a data company, fundamentally at the heart of what we do and how we offer the services is really data and machine learning. And I think there's an opportunity for us to be that player to provide at least a slice of the data. We're not an EMR company. We're not going to get into the clinical side, but at least the experiential and the social determinants data and everything around that, patient engagement, experience, I think that's where we can play.
What is the bigger goal for Healthgrades over the next 24 months now that you are kind of better, faster, stronger as one?
So we're going to continue to do more of what we do today. So we've got two sort of main businesses and then a third business that's supporting it. So the first main business is our Healthgrades.com business, which is for consumers. But the business model there is really around health systems, providing a little bit more color around their physicians on Healthgrades.com. And then our CRM business, which is this data business. It's called Healthcare CRM. It's a little bit different than what you would think of as outside of healthcare CRM.
Yeah.
Very analytics, predictive modeling, machine learning, all of that built into it in order to know who's likely to need what when. So that business will continue to grow. We're seeing a lot of demand there. And then the third business is really around quality, providing a little bit more transparency and information around the quality of different providers and the outcomes for those providers. And that business today sort of rates hospitals. We give ratings based on outcomes, but that information and the people there also help to contribute to both of the other two businesses we have. So Healthgrades.com leverages some of that quality data as well as the CRM business. There's a couple of new businesses that we're working on. One is, as I mentioned, this customer data platform, which takes what we do with CRM and sort of supercharges it. Right, gets us into way more channels of information, a lot more sophisticated modeling, dealing with all kinds of different data. And then there's another business that we're working on, which is adjacent to our web business, Healthgrades.com, which really starts to offer more payer-centric products, a lot more detail, around that. So there's a couple of different areas that we've been investigating and working on, and all of these things are very complementary at the end of the day.
That is all very exciting. If someone wants to learn more about your existing businesses and your future businesses, how do they get in touch?
Very easy. First name, last name, rupen.patel at healthgrades.com, or just reach out to us, contact us on our website, healthgrades.com.
Fantastic. Everyone, thank you for joining us, and thanks for listening to Tech Talk.